Hi ladies and gentlemen, thank you for revisiting my channel and giving me the time of day. I'll be honest with you, the last few weeks had not been fun, not in my home or in the rest of the world for that matter. I'm not someone who can sit down and feel sorry for myself, as I'm always telling myself that somewhere there is someone worse off than me and that I should feel embarrassed for complaining. But guys, no matter what you do, these small irritations, all the mini dramas and struggles add up eventually. And yesterday, Tuesday morning, I woke up feeling tearful and depressed. I knew that the worst thing I could do would be to stay in bed, which was all I really wanted to do. So I got up, drank my morning mix and my anti-anxiety meds, but nothing helped. Tears just kept running uncontrollably. Eventually, I went for a shower just to find it barely gave me 2 minutes of hot water before I decided a cold shower on a winter's morning is just what I needed. Well, it wasn't. I cried and cried until I decided to go for a drive before lunch. We were invited to lunch at the bistro at the winery where my daughter works as sommelier. Her boss and his wife felt badly that she had to work on her 30th birthday. Well, after getting out of the car a few times to take photographs, I started to breathe easier, and by the time we got to the winery, I was feeling a little better. Yes, for me, getting out on the road with no specific destination in mind, just looking for the beauty and quiet of the veld and nature, is the one thing which helps to lift my spirits. Now, look, I have been through this before. The negative thoughts, the tiredness, and the anger, and it is certainly not fun. And the internal struggle when you berate yourself for being an idiot, yet not being able to control your emotions regardless of what you tell yourself. It is all tiring, and it literally takes the air out of my lungs and turn my legs into jelly. Now I know that this bout of depression is circumstantial and coming from a place of frustration and anger mixed with a drop of fear. My family and I hardly ever bother to go look, investigate or read why our latest load shedding occurs. It's mostly a load of BS and likely only true 1 out of 10 times. However, my daughter receives the push notifications about the latest levels and times of the outages on her phone, and last night during one of the outages, she received notifications again in which it also stated that this round of outages is likely to still last for weeks. Now, in a way, we have adapted, knowing that it will only be a week or two before we'll have a cycle of normality again. So we plug in our rechargeables, we get 1 or 2 new gadgets to try and make our lives easier. But this time, our lives are also different. We are not living in our own home. We cannot alter or change things. It is just not worth spending a small fortune on someone else's home. It is also winter, and we recently had a plumber out to try and find out why the gas geyser gives us hot water 1 minute and ice cold water the next. And he found that the entire hot water system was wrongly installed. Now, I must just mention the house was changed and renovated before we moved in. Now, in any event, yes, my dears, exposed copper pipes in the Karoo winter is a shit idea. In any event, of course, these outages affect us in other ways, like work and income and even our sleep patterns. But I digress. Once the power came back on, I went and Googled what I could about the scenario surrounding our load shedding. And I was shocked, angry, and really sad at what I read. Of course, the reasons for these prolonged outages varies from day to day and from publication to publication. There are stories of massive theft and fraud, and then there was also the one about the so-called strike, which I have not even heard of. Then there were the articles about the effect this has on the lives of citizens. Now, like in many other countries across the world, people in my country also lost jobs during COVID lockdown, particularly those in the hospitality and tourism industry and those working in the non-essential goods retail sector. Then the Ukraine-Russia war happened. Now, South Africa traded with both, but although our president, thank goodness, adhered to advice and calls from the public not to involve us too much in the matter, it was also decided to adhere to European and United States sanctions against Russia. So this affected our agricultural sector as well as the manufacturing sector. And now these prolonged power outages came along. Our fuel prices, including petrol, diesel, gas, paraffin, etc., had risen astronomically over the last few weeks and months. Where big and small businesses could previously afford to run generators, many cannot afford to do so now, preferring to close their doors for the duration of the power outage, or only helping those who are paying cash. So now we are reading about the further number of people losing jobs as companies are scaling down and forced to work with skeleton staff. It is a sad state of affairs. And of course, the government is not telling us the truth. This time they are blaming these power outages on the wage strike. Yet the strike seems to have been resolved with a 7% increase. But the very high level of outages remain. Anyway, after I read about the situation here in South Africa, I went onto YouTube thinking I'll watch one or two videos before going to bed just to hear about the mass shooting in Illinois during the 4th of July parade. Now, it is just absolutely terrible, horrific, and although I am so sad for the families of the people who lost their lives, I'm also so darn angry. Yes, I know the scenarios cannot be compared, but the mindset, in my opinion, is the same. Here in South Africa, we have a handful of people thinking it's all about them and what they want. They want more money from an entity which is already struggling. They want longer leave, they want bonuses, and then they want to steal and plunder and get away with it. And here in Illinois, we had a young man with issues who thinks he is so important, the center of the universe, that everything is about him and nothing is about those innocent people who were having a day out with their families. As this comes so close on the heels of the Uvalde shooting, I am sure that every person with a heart actually feels devastated and just slightly despondent at this news. I realize the importance of mental health, but in a way, although mental health obviously plays a role in both cases, I mean, how can anyone who does something like this be mentally healthy? But it is fast becoming my opinion that absolute entitlement, narcissism, and stupidity is fast becoming a much bigger issue. Here in my country, a handful of people are causing the demise of our economy. They are sending families into poverty, affecting their own children's education and future, just because they, who do have jobs and who can buy food at the end of the month, feel entitled to more. In Illinois and Uvalde, two young men felt entitled to take the lives of others because they felt badly about themselves. It is not my place to wade in on United States politics, but it is my right and my place to wade in on this relatively newfound wokery, where people are only too keen, almost overly keen, on making excuses for everything and everybody. No, 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 no. Mental health is something perhaps 90% of the world population is struggling with in varying degrees. But if your brain is active enough to know the difference between right and wrong, there is absolutely no excuse. People and children should be taught that there are consequences for their actions, and the younger this education starts, the better for their and our future. In South Africa, if those workers, particularly those in essential services, want to strike, they should be replaced with those who do not have jobs. And in the case of the idiot shooter in Illinois, a little shit who had previously threatened to kill his family and commit suicide, he should never have been allowed to own a high-powered rifle. And no, it is not the authorities' fault. But as I understand it from reports, his father covered up for him each time and even sponsored and co-signed for him to purchase those firearms, as he was too young at the time when he applied for a gun owner's license. I think it is time we all ask why a private individual should be allowed to own a high-powered rifle if he is not a hunter and not a sharpshooter in law enforcement or in the army or whatever. For what specific reason would a 19-year-old want or need a high-powered or automatic rifle? And why would a parent think that a 19-year-old without, say, a hunting license would need a high-powered rifle? Where are the parents and where are the sense of responsibility? But that is not a question for me to answer, but for anyone with a conscience and heart to answer. In almost every video I made lately, everything comes down to accountability and justice. It does not matter whether I talk about Meghan and Harry, Charles, or anything or anybody else. Meghan and Harry have lied, deceived, and slandered the royal family, their parents, their siblings, and an entire nation. Charles has time and time again been involved in scandals relating to his trusts and charities. He had been an adulterer, meddled in politics, has been disloyal to the very church he will be head of soon. Yet, people are still standing up for Meghan and Harry. They are still walking away unscathed from each incident. They are still in the line of succession, still on the royal website. And Charles will still be king. I am personally sick of excuses, be it in my country or yours. Because whether you like it or not, we are all connected. Instability in my country will eventually affect you. And instability in your country will eventually affect us. I know this video is not what you want to hear about, but after all, it is my channel, and sometimes I really need somewhere to vent. However, please be patient with me. I shall be back with royal news and discussions soon. So, my dear friends, until we meet again on the next video, please take good care of yourselves. Bye.